People who stopped attending their churches, what happened? I was a regular church goer for most of my life, as was my wife. We had our kids baptized, they were active in choir, we taught fellow kids Bible study, did volunteer efforts, basically the works. But then my wife was diagnosed with metastatic cancer and her treatments became very rough and her health deteriorated rapidly. Unfortunately, she wasn't covered under my employer's insurance plan due to her pre-existing health conditions. Up until this point, however, we had been tithing regularly and were giving extra towards the church's new building fund. We had to stop that to make ends meet, but my wife and I still tithed what we could. I remember the senior pastor contacted us and asked why we weren't giving as much. And when I told him, he asked if he and the deacons could do a special prayer session for her health. We showed up to the session and our jaws just dropped as the pastor kept asking God to heal her. He didn't ask God to heal her for our family, for our kids, or for the community. He asked God to heal her so we could go back to giving more tithes. It was the most emotionally draining and heartbreaking thing I've ever been a part of. I'm positive that session placed so much stress onto my wife that her health worsened, because not even a few weeks later, my wife was given a diagnosis of stage 4 and given only months to live. I have no idea how, but as soon as this happened, our pastor contacted us and asked to come to our home and see us. Against our better judgment, we said yes. And it's during that visit that this wrinkly old sack of shit who deserves to die in hellfire looked straight at her and told her with full seriousness that she must have some hidden sin that was preventing her from being healed. He started full on pressing her about whether or she had secretly cheated on me and was hiding it. My wife was sitting there, oxygen tubes up her nose, no hair, down 60 pounds from her vibrant pre-cancer self and could barely speak above a whisper. She just started crying as he began calling her a W word and accusing her of lying to her owner, me. I damn near killed him. I full-on slapped him so hard he fell to the ground. He looked at me shocked and said he thought I was on his side. I saw red again. I began kicking him, and it's only when my wife managed to let out a very weak attempt at a scream that I stopped. She was bawling her eyes out and I picked the pastor up and physically kicked him out. He had the audacity to tell me God will punish me for this as he was getting kicked out. I went back over to my crying wife and just held her and consoled her. I reassured her that everything was going to be okay, and oddly enough, the rest of that day turned out to be our happiest in a long time. We watched a lot of movies, talked about our happiest moments, and cuddled like we did when we were young. She died one of the most wholesome women I've ever known, and several years later, I learned that the pastor was dittying several kids in the congregation.